scrolling through, social media feeds these days, it's easy to feel like everyone's life is just a highlight reel, right? But today, we're hitting pause on all of that. And we're diving deep into something real, something raw.
I like it.
A decade's worth of blog posts from a woman named Yvonne.
Okay.
Her blog, Mango Girls Playground, it's anything but surface level.
No, not at all. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, right? We get this unfiltered look into this woman's life.
Yeah.
All of her thoughts, her experiences with food, what it's like living in the city, family dynamics over the course of a decade.
And we're starting in 2013. A year marked by a really profound loss for Yvonne, the sudden death of her younger brother, Ed.
It's a poignant entry point into Yvonne's story. And it really raises these questions about how any of us really process grief.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something as sudden and difficult as suicide. And everyone's journey is unique.
Of course.
But Yvonne's writing, it really gives us this raw and honest look at just the rawness of loss.
Yeah, and you really feel that weight in her words. Like, there's an entry from July 23rd, just days after Ed's passing, and she writes, "The world is all black."
Wow.
It's stark, and it's heavy.
It is.
But even amidst the grief, Yvonne, she describes these incredibly vivid dreams.
Yeah, and dreams can be such a powerful window into our subconscious, especially when we're trying to process all of these really intense emotions. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What stands out to you about the dreams that Yvonne's sharing?
There's one where Ed calls her, worried about something that he ate.
Okay.
And then in the dream, her mom delivers the news that he died from, like food poisoning.
Oh, wow.
And it's like her subconscious is trying to, make sense of this impossible thing.
Of course, that search for meaning, that search for an explanation, especially one that feels tangible when something like this happens.
Right.
It's really common in grief. It's like our minds are almost trying to find a way to reconcile this loss with the world that we knew before.
And there's another dream where she finds Ed at their family home. And he's totally oblivious to what's happened.
Wow.
And she's hugging him, asking him, did all that stuff never happen?
Oh, wow.
Heartbreaking.
That feeling that the deceased is still present, especially when you're talking about shared spaces and things like that, that's something that a lot of people experience. And I think it speaks to just how powerful memory is.
Yeah.
And how our loved ones really do remain a part of our lives, even when they're not physically there.
And you can almost feel Yvonne clinging to those memories, those moments of normalcy.
Right.
Like even just her talking about Ed's excitement whenever she would visit their family in New York.
It really shows you the type of relationship and the bond they had.
He would bake welcome home Yvonne cakes.
Oh, wow.
It's like just a detail, but it speaks volumes.
It does. And it injects like this lightheartedness, this little bit of joy into this really heavy subject.
It does. But alongside that joy, there's like this palpable tension because Yvonne's relationship with her parents is strained.
Right.
And their reaction to Ed's death seems to amplify those existing issues.
It's a reminder that loss never happens in a vacuum. It affects everyone in their own way.
Right.
It affects families. Sometimes it exposes existing cracks. Sometimes it makes new ones.
Yeah. And Yvonne describes feeling constantly judged and misunderstood by her parents.
Yeah.
And it feels like those feelings are just like heightened in the aftermath of Ed's death.
Right.
She even wonders if their negativity played a part in his decision.
It's a question a lot of people have when they experience something like this. My heart goes out to her. It's just highlighting how complex mental health is and how much of an impact family dynamics and societal pressures can have.
And it gets even more layered when Yvonne reflects on how differently her parents approach grief compared to her.
Yeah.
She even questions if cultural influences are at play.
It plays such a huge part, how we grieve, how we express our emotions, how we give support or receive it. It really all stems from our culture.
Absolutely. And for Yvonne, it seems like those cultural differences create a barrier between her and her parents.
Right.
Which deepens that sense of isolation as she's navigating her own grief.
Yeah, it's a reminder that grief can be incredibly isolating, even when you're experiencing it with your family.
Yeah. So we have this really complex picture of Yvonne's life.
We do.
Profound loss, complicated family dynamics, and this undercurrent of cultural tension.
Yeah.
And it'd be easy to get lost in all of that, but then Yvonne gives us these glimpses into her life in New York City.
Yes. The city that never sleeps.
And it's like this breath of fresh air.
What's interesting is how Yvonne seems to find solace, even joy, in the middle of all of this pain.
Yeah.
Especially through her love of food.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
Make sure you stick around because Yvonne's relationship with food is anything but ordinary.
Oh.
So we left off with Yvonne grieving, dealing with some complicated family stuff, all while living in New York City.
Right.
But it's in those everyday moments in the city that we see this really, unexpected side of her come out.
Okay.
Her passion for food.
Interesting. It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition.
It is.
You have this city that never sleeps, always on the go. You think of takeout, convenience.
Right.
But then here's Yvonne finding comfort in the kitchen.
Yeah. It's like she's in the middle of this concrete jungle, dealing with all this emotional weight.
Right.
And she finds solace in making dosa.
Wow. Dosa from scratch.
From scratch. Dosa.
That's impressive. It really speaks to the power of food.
It does.
Like how it can bring us comfort, help us feel connected.
Absolutely. And it's not just comfort food.
Yeah.
Yvonne explores it all.
Oh, yeah.
Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, South Indian, you name it, she's trying it, cooking it.
Wow.
Writing about it with this genuine passion.
I love that. She's not just eating these dishes, she's diving into all these different culinary traditions.
Right.
Exploring the flavors and then weaving those experiences into her own life, into her writing.
Yeah, food becomes this bridge for her in a lot of ways.
How so?
It connects her to Ed.
Of course.
They shared meals together.
Okay.
It connects her to her culture.
Yeah.
And it also connects her to New York City. This melting pot of culinary experiences.
Food really does transcend its basic function, doesn't it? It's more than just sustenance. It's a way to connect with the world.
Totally. And even with these culinary adventures, Yvonne finds humor, which I love.
Oh, tell me about it.
There's this one story. She's craving a simple sandwich.
Okay.
Goes to a place in Queens.
Yeah.
And is confronted with this, what she calls this hipster monstrosity.
Oh, no. That's hilarious. I can just imagine what that looked like. Even in a city known for amazing food, sometimes you just want a simple sandwich.
Exactly. And the way she describes this overly complicated, pretentious sandwich, it's hilarious.
It goes to show, even when you're dealing with grief, with the chaos of the city, there's still room for a good laugh.
Right. And, Yvonne's resilience really shines through.
It does.
Because, on top of everything else, she's navigating this next chapter, her engagement to Chris.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But knowing Yvonne's family dynamics, things aren't going to be simple. So Yvonne's in love, she's engaged, she's exploring all these culinary passions.
Yeah.
But we've seen family dynamics, they always have a way of resurfacing.
Yeah, especially around these big life events, right?
Exactly.
Like engagements.
Huge life event.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really interesting to see how Yvonne's family, mainly her mom, reacts to Chris.
Yeah, what happens?
It's almost comical. The way Yvonne describes it, her family and Chris's family, they're on totally different pages about the whole engagement.
Oh, really?
Hers is super suspicious.
Okay.
Asking a million questions, and it's they're not planning the wedding just yet.
Okay, I see. So they're not totally on board.
Not really, no.
I mean, it kind of goes back to that cultural piece, right?
Totally.
Different family structures, different ways of showing that they're happy, showing that they approve.
Right, right. And Yvonne even shares this really funny story.
Oh.
About her mom's interrogation after Chris's parents' visit.
Oh, no.
It's she just lays out all of her mom's anxieties and doubts.
Right.
And it's so relatable, even if it's a little over the top.
Yeah, that whole protective parent thing, trying to figure out if this new person is good enough,
Exactly.
That's...
But beyond the humor, it's actually a moment where we see Yvonne really confronting these deep-seated beliefs about marriage and family.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from her upbringing, too.
Of course.
It's almost like a turning point for her,
Yeah, totally.
Where she goes from resisting that traditional path, even feeling a little apprehensive about motherhood, to having these conversations that really challenge her views.
What kinds of conversations?
There's one with Chris's friend who decided to leave her career to stay home with her kids.
Okay.
That one really stuck with Yvonne.
Yeah, it's she's grappling with these societal expectations, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
The ones that say women have to choose one or the other.
Yeah.
Career or family.
And what's interesting is that Yvonne never actually says what's right or wrong.
Right.
It's more like she's letting herself feel the weight of both sides.
I see.
And acknowledge that there are different ways to do things.
And that's growth, right? being open to those different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no one right way.
And you really see that openness when she talks about this encounter she has later on.
Okay.
Someone who makes these incredibly insensitive comments about suicide.
Oh, wow. Really?
And it's just so jarring to read.
Yeah.
Especially knowing how far Yvonne's come.
Yeah.
But instead of getting angry or shutting down, she uses it as an opportunity to educate.
Wow.
Even to be compassionate.
It's amazing how she can respond with such grace, after everything she's been through.
It really is. And it makes you think about, like, this larger theme in Yvonne's story.
Which is?
This idea that life is just full of contradictions.
Right.
Good and bad, light and shadow.
Happiness, sadness.
And it's in those moments, those messy, complicated moments where we really figure out who we are.
I like that.
And then she brings us to 2024, and it's her last post.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's this really beautiful reflection on motherhood.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear what she has to say.
She talks about how becoming a mom has made her think about her own mortality.
Wow.
And, like, her legacy in a way she never really had before.
It makes you think about how precious time is.
Yeah.
And how important it is to really appreciate those small moments,
Yes, absolutely.
Even if you're not a parent, I think that's something we can all connect with.
For sure. And Yvonne ends her blog with this renewed sense of purpose.
I love that.
This commitment to, like, really living life, embracing all of it, the ups and downs.
All the joy and sorrow, yeah.
It's a powerful message.
It is. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Yvonne's life, what resonated most with you?
I think for me, it's just this reminder that even in the digital world, even in something as, like, temporary as a blog post, there's so much depth to be found in the ordinary, in the things we all go through.
Right, those shared human experiences.
And if you're looking for a reminder of that, of the power of being vulnerable and resilient, I think you should really check out Mango Girls Playground.
I agree.
You might be surprised what you discover.